And really excited to welcome in today's guest, Ross, co-owner with Ale Asylum out of Madison. I know you're a big Hop Alicious fan, as I am.
That's my go-to beer when I'm at the bar.
Well, let's get into it with the co-owner, Hathaway Dilba. Hathaway, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us here today.
Hi.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, let's go back to Ale Asylum's roots. Founded in 2006. I'm sure this is a loaded question. Take as much time as you need because we want to hear the story. How did things get going with Ale Asylum?
That is a loaded question. I was expecting, what is your, how do you feel about the healthcare reform? I was a little nervous. Ale Asylum has a very interesting beginning. Otto and Dean are co-founders. Otto Dilba and Dean Coffey used to work at the Angelic Brewing Company in Madison. And, of course, that business has now closed their doors, but they came up with an idea of wanting to produce Angelic beer off-site and distribute it in the greater Madison area and eventually to the state. And the owner said, this isn't quite on our bucket list for the restaurant, so why don't you guys go ahead, no hard feelings, go out and start it on your own. You just have to completely change the branding, name, recipes have to change by X amount of percentage, etc. And it was a very amicable parting. And so we did. We found a storefront space in the strip mall, surprisingly, of an incubator-type business building on Madison's northeast side, and opened our doors 1 year later. And subsequently, Angelic was amazing and carried everything we made. They had every brand of Ale Asylum beer that we made at the time on top of their business before they closed. And we really appreciate that.
You've been in existence less than 10 years, but you made a pretty big change by moving up to a 47,000 square foot facility a few years ago. Was that an easy decision for you?
It was. That's probably more of a loaded question than the last one. It seemed, I will tell you, it wasn't seamless. Of course, no business entity is going to go through something like that, a transition of that size, and have it be seamless. It was as easy as possible. One of the reasons why we were able to do this is because co-founder Otto Dilba had the genius mind to realize that we're not going to grow as a business unless through controlled expansion. And we consistently kept our hands on the reins, kept things moving at a level where we could consistently keep up with product demand. As the demand grew, we wanted to make sure that we had enough liquid, of course, to satiate the inmates out there that wanted to seek asylum. So we took it slow and low, and it really paid off. And whenever we have other breweries that are younger approach us, we always give that advice. It's so tempting when you get these calls from LA, oh, we need your beer in LA, or New York City, or Japan, or what. It's really tempting to jump on that ship and go, but really make sure that you can handle your own backyard. And that was the key to our growth. So as far as making the decision, it was a little bit sooner than we anticipated to move into this building, but it was a much-needed decision to be made, and we're very happy we did it. The dust has settled a little bit, so we're in a good spot.
Where is your distribution set now? How far-reaching are you guys currently?
We are currently in Illinois from top to tip, and, of course, our own state, Wisconsin. There's just some minute slivers of the state of Wisconsin that were not available, but we just opened up a new distribution territory in Wausau, and it goes as far as I believe the Tomahawk Rhinelander area. This is a new territory for us, and we're very excited about that.
When did you realize you were onto something with the beer, and you had something that was marketable and ready for everyone?
Probably when Dean was making beer at the Angelic. He was winning some pretty awesome awards through that brewing. He was brewing on a, not to, of course, to defile what they offered him to brew on, but it was a very different system with many different complicated challenges. And, of course, Madison City Water is a blast to work with. So I would say that because Dean's ethic and Otto's ethic is do what's best for the beer, I think that is really shown through in many different ways from the beginning, to current, to and also to the future. I think we knew in the very beginning when we tested our first batch at the smaller brewery that it was a winner. That Dean, even though we changed our recipes, significantly from the Angelic, that he was still able to work in the parameters of his style of brewing and still have it shine.
We're talking about Ale Asylum today on the program out of Madison, Wisconsin. A co-owner, Hathaway Dilba, joining us here on Tap the Dial. Hathaway, what is a brainstorming session with Dean and Otto like? Can you kind of take us into, what goes into the decision-making process? Okay, we're going to try to brew something new. We're going to try to go and do this.
Not legally. Without getting us in a lot of trouble. No, I'm kidding. They're old friends. We're all old friends. It's just like you can imagine. It's a bunch of us sitting around. Maybe it's after beer over a pint. Heck, maybe at 10 p.m. and we're exhausted in the office. Otto mainly is the brainstormer, and he'll throw some stuff out there. This is the amazing thing about Otto is that, and aside from running most of the operations of the business, the man does all the logos and everything. So he's got this right and left brain. I call it the mega brain. And what he does when he does a logo, for instance, is that when he thinks he's onto something good, he walks down to the kitchen, talks to the kitchen staff about it. He goes and talks, to a friend that happens to be sitting in the bar. He wants everyone's opinion. He's not a lone wolf in this process. And I think when a lot of artists and designers are, he's looking for that input. And so it's really kind of a communal effort.
Oh, you've been working on some new beers. We saw that the new one now is Kink, which is a Belgian-style Abbey.
I definitely can't tell you how the research was done for that one. That one I'm going to keep my mouth shut on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But for the average beer drinker, how would you describe Kink for someone?
Sure. Kink is a Belgian-style Abbey. Dean has this affinity for Trappist-style brewing. He brews in the spirit of the German purity law, where I'm talking water, hops, malt, and yeast. This was a really fun beer for us because although we're known for our hoppier ales, we have a Belgian beer portfolio in the bottled market and in our tasting room that's pretty impressive because of his affinity for that style of brewing. And this one has been remarkable on the market. It's getting a lot of good feedback from people who don't even normally drink beer. And they respect this beer as a stiffer, being it's a higher alcohol content. It's smooth, and we're very proud of this one. It's joining the lineup with Triple Nova, which is also limited seasonal, and then Mercy Grand Cru, which is coming out in November sometime. So we will hopefully have a fourth Belgian joining the lineup next year.
When we talk about Ale Asylum around here, I mean, Hop Alicious, we mentioned it before, is usually the one that comes up. What do you guys look at as your most popular beer?
Hop Alicious, indeed, is the mother's milk for our inmates and ourselves. It's our flagship beer. It gives us a percentage of our sales in the market. So it's that one's it's a very approachable and balanced American pale ale, considering it has 11 additions of Cascade hops in it. The novice and the experienced beer drinker can both enjoy it. I
like how you say, first off, you call everyone the inmates. That's phenomenal right there. And when you talk about Hop Alicious for the novice, because, as a hophead, as I would call myself, that's one of the go-to ones, I think, because of what you mentioned right there. It's for the novice. It's maybe that transition into some of the doubles and the triples and that sort of thing.
Exactly, and it's counterintuitive. It's funny, I wouldn't consider it a true entrance beer or gateway beer to lure, let's say, a Miller Lite drinker or a wine and spirit drinker into our market. But somebody who's just starting to dabble in craft beers, they seem to really appreciate that beer. It's rarely do I have somebody try it at a festival or sampling and say, "Oh no, this is too hoppy for me." So it's balanced. It's a nice one.
The Ballistic was out this spring to fall, and it's winding down now. Explain the difference between that and the Hop Alicious.
Sure, Ballistic. Oh my gosh, that one. Somebody did a fabulous review on. I think it was, it had to have been Rate Beer, might have been Beer Advocate. They did a countdown about what happens in your mouth and in your system when you take a sip of Ballistic, and it's priceless. You should check it out. It's on our website. I think that beer is phenomenal. Of course, that one is a lot more aggressive in nature as far as bitterness for somebody who possibly would be a Miller Lite drinker may not appreciate that one as much. Not to put a negative spin on it, but it has a huge fan base. It used to be used to have like a 3 or 4 month run, and now it's a half year because people loved it. And it's made with Amarillo hops, which is a patent variety of hops, and it's just wonderful. Everything from the smell to the way it travels, on your taste buds is phenomenal. It's flavor experience that I don't even know if I could describe properly.
What other highlights there on the roster would you like to mention for us here?
Ooh, we have a release coming up of 2 beers that have never been out in the market before. This is our first dual release. Big Slick Stout is coming out, and Demento. And Demento is a session pale ale that used to be part of our Limited Asylum series, which we ran primarily in the tasting room. They were experiments and one-offs from the breweries. The inmates at first were calling the oops beers. We don't have time for oops beers. So these were literally experiments that we were able to run through the system that we happen to have time for. And this one, Demento, is wonderful. It is made with Cascade hops and Centennial hops. And the Centennial hops we usually use with our double IPA, Satisfaction Jackson. It's a 4.7 ABV, highly sessionable. It should be, given its style name. There's a big trend, of course, you guys probably know this, towards session IPAs right now, and there's a lot of good and bad acclaim coming for that style from the serious beer drinkers. A lot of people call it hop water. We gave this Demento personality, so it would not be labeled as hop water. It's great. And, of course, Big Slick Stout is Dean's Stout. We used to call it an oatmeal stout, but it doesn't have an ounce of oatmeal in it. Can't call it that. So we're just calling it a stout. We're not really labeling it with a style. And that one has a little bit higher ABV, of course.
Well, I know, Hathaway, a lot of people find their way to Madison these days, whether they're football fans going to cheer on the Badgers or just a great location, even to go pay a visit for a weekend in Wisconsin. Tell us about your setup there and what listeners will find if they come visit you guys at Ale Asylum.
Absolutely. We would love to see all of you. We have a tasting room that has a capacity of about, I think it's close to 300 if all the facilities used. In the tasting room, you'll find a bar. It's a nice open space. We have a lofted lounge. And then, of course, we have our restaurant. And this is a unique business model for us because we use this mainly to communicate with our inmates, to have them experience our beers up and close. Our staff is very knowledgeable. They have to go through Beer University, and our general managers put together a testing and evaluation program to evaluate to make sure that they can talk effectively about our products. And the menu is limited. We don't want to compete with the area establishments that kindly serve our products. We don't want to be the best fish fry when there's one of the best fish fries in the state across the street. We don't want to have live music here when our dear friend Kathy Detmers owns the High Noon Saloon and has a great music lineup. We just make it simple. It's just fantastic. And we do tasters, of course, and tours on Sundays, every hour on the hour from noon until 5.
I know you guys are out there on the Twitterverse, Facebook as well. What are some other ways listeners can find you guys, too, with the World Wide Web there?
Oh, we got our course, www.aleasylum.com. And we do have an Instagram account. And the Instagram and Twitter handles are at @ale_asylum. Some person stole at Ale Asylum, and they won't give it back to us. No, they haven't done anything with it for 5 years. It's kind of a dead in water handle, so didn't like having an underscore in there. But what are you going to do?
Does anyone call it the World Wide Web anymore too?
I hear that one a lot, and
Okay.
I also hear the interwebs. Interwebs has been a trend lately with people with me. So.
Well, hey, then if people are saying it, then I'm still okay with it. Co-owner with Ale Asylum in Madison, Hathaway Dilba, taking the time to chat with us here. Thank you so much for all the insight, and can't wait to get down there one of these weekends and visit you guys, Hathaway.
Thank you, gentlemen. We would welcome it. Please let me know when you're coming so I can buy you a pint.